I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know comprehensive plan doesn't sound that exciting. I've heard a lot of talk around the room that we need to slow things down, grow this, do that. This is where it starts at. You know, we need your input to decide where our county needs growth at, where we need change at, where we need to protect our farmland at. So this is where it happens. And we get to do this every 5 years, and I'm thankful to be back and to be a part of this. But we need community engagement like we have here to be a part of it. But not only tonight, there will be several meetings and we need you to come back. You know, most of the time it starts off and everybody's really engaged, and then by the next meeting it dwindles. And by the end there's 10 people maybe here. And so we need you to be engaged from here throughout the whole process to make sure that we can make a plan that will serve our next generations coming up, that will have that area that's protected, that will make sure we cover the school systems and not overcrowd them. And this is where it happens. It doesn't seem like a lot, but this is a big deal. So I appreciate y'all being here to be a part of it. I appreciate our commissioners, Richard and Chuck, taking the time out to be here. There's a couple of them that couldn't be. And thank you for our staff, Dan and Clint, everybody that's joined, and forgetting names, your sister. Yeah, it's all right. And thank you for the, if you're elected official, raise your hand. Mayor's here, Sheriff C.L.U.C.K is here, Sarah's here, Hillwood, Chestnut. Oh, you're not elected. Put your hand down.
I couldn't win.
Susan, thank you for being here. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule that you already have to be part of. Amy, thank you for being here, Molly. And I'm sure I'm missing people, but we appreciate your input tonight. And I want to turn it over to Gretchen and Julianne and everyone that will handle with their lead. One of them. Gretchen, come on now. They handle our comprehensive plan for us as part of the regional commission, and we're proud to be working with them tonight.
Thank you so much. I am Gretchen Lukart, and I'm one of the senior planners for the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission. The Regional Commission helps the cities and counties in Northwest Georgia do a lot of different things, and in your folder is a trifold little brochure that goes over some of the things we do. And we're doing so much we haven't had time to update it since 2021 or 2022. So you'll see it says 2022. But we do many, many different things, and one thing we do is help with planning so that the cities and counties will be eligible for a huge range of grants and funds and loans. So that's just one of the tasks that we help with. But we also help folks get grants in a lot of different categories. We help with the area agency on aging, and it's kind of centered in our office in Rome. And so just one of the many things that we do. I have on the agenda to remind you all that we're going to have the next meeting Thursday, April 17th. We will be at the Colonnade. So we're looking forward to having a different venue that's like halfway between Ringgold and Fort Oglethorpe. So we thought that was a great place to try to meet. So that's where we'll be next time. Julianne is going to tell us just a little bit about the planning process, where we're at and where we're going with that.
Thank you, Gretchen. I'm Julianne Meadows. I work with the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission. I'm really glad to be here, glad to see this great turnout. This stakeholder meeting begins the community leader input process. Many of you have taken the community survey, which is a way to gather public input as well. The comprehensive plan process depends on community stakeholder and leadership input. It depends on that public input. There was a public hearing earlier in February that officially began this process. There will be another public hearing towards the end of the process in October, November, when we've developed the draft plan with everyone's input. So that ensures that we've got community leaders, the public, and each of the local governments very much involved in this process. We are here to help check those boxes, make sure the plan meets all the requirements, but this plan is very much about input from you and from your neighbors. So we're glad to be here, glad to be a part of this process, and that's great. Thank you.
All right. Well, Dana is going to start out with the first government to tell us a little bit about recent accomplishments, and that's part of the big thing that the plan is about. Getting work program items down and then getting them accomplished.
All right. First off, thank you for coming. I know many of you had other things to do tonight, and you decided to come here. We're so thankful that you did. I wanted to read a quote by a famous philosopher, and it reads like this. It says, "Plan for the future, because that is where you are going to spend the rest of your life," right? Mark Twain. So before we start to make plans tonight and start this process that we do every 5 years, and I was counting up, I think this is the 6th time I've had the pleasure of doing this over the last 30 some odd years. And as we start looking at this, we'll look at 6 components. But what I want to do, and what I was asked to do, was to go through mainly the Catoosa County portion of the work program and identify things that have been accomplished or things that are continuing on. So I'm going to bore you. I'm going to read a little bit, but I feel like it might help you understand the importance of actually what we're trying to do here tonight. Under the economic development component, we continue to maintain vacant site and lot inventory. We continue to work with the EDA to identify incentives to encourage job creation and capital investment into our community. The branding effort was completed by partnering with our school system, Chamber of Commerce. I know Amy took a lot of that workforce on, and the county, and a lot of other different people. That's why you see a lot of vehicles running around here with the same type of branding on the side of the vehicles. You'll see a lot of those logos around, and there's a reason for that. But it was identified 5 years ago when we was building our workforce plan. We continue to work with Thrive programs to promote a lot of our outdoor recreation. You can see a lot of evidence in what you see in the trail system of Ringgold and Fort Oglethorpe and other places. The county has deployed free Wi-Fi in many of the county facilities. That was identified as a real large need. And just recently, Jack Maddox, the Graysville Voting Precinct, and McConnell Park / Yellowstone Church was added. Why is it important? We have school kids that might need to do projects, so we're trying to deploy as much free Wi-Fi out there as we can. Also, we have officers that may need it for certain reasons, or emergency services that might need it from time to time. So that's why we're looking at that. The recruiting of regional, statewide, and national sporting tournaments to use Catoosa County and both cities' facilities. I believe one of the first statewide meet was held at Fort Oglethorpe Pool. And that was a partnership between the Parks and Recreation Department and the city of Fort Oglethorpe. The next is the housing component. We've referenced the future land use map for any type of future development as we go through zoning type cases. The coordination of the sewer development with the cities in the SPLOSH funding process continues. The county and both cities successfully applied to be in the Georgia Initiative of Community Housing. And that was, I think we're in our sophomore year now, and we're learning a lot about different ways that you can help with community housing. Next is our transportation component. State Route 151, or Alabama Highway, from Holcomb Road to Nashville Street. This was GDOT. Of course, it has been completed. I want you to listen to this. I started my career with the city of Ringgold in 1993. Guess what we was talking about in 1993? But it had to be put in the plan. And then we had to go forward and put it into the Chattanooga, Tennessee Transportation Planning Organization, and then they changed it to the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Then they changed it back to it got to the point where you didn't know where you was going, but you knew the building. You didn't know the name, but you went to the right building. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of planning, takes a lot of effort. But when you look at the overall investment that it actually took the state and federal government to do a lot of these projects, I mean, it was, Mark, what, $40 million, and that was several years ago. No telling what that project would be today. The bridge replacement at Highway 41 in Peabody Creek was identified. Also, and if you know, that's currently being done. I'll ask you, like I've asked about everybody else that I spoke in front of, if somebody says, are they moving that bridge? Are they going to move 41 Highway? The answer is no. That is a temporary bridge. They will replace the bridge where it stands. So help us with that. Help get that out. Mount Vernon Road and Sugar Creek, they're currently replacing that bridge. Completing the roundabout at Highway 41 in Graysville Road. How many of us ever sat on Graysville Road trying to watch somebody needing to turn left, right? And you'd sit there and you'd back up and back up. Chairman, you and Commissioner Barton never saw that, a few times, okay. Another item that was put into the plan. We've expanded transit buses to handle more rides. We are one of the only transit systems that I'm aware of, Catoosa County, that provides transit completely free to the riders. Most of them pay $4 each direction. When you're a senior citizen and when you're on a very limited income and you have to pay $8 every time you go somewhere and come back, that's rather expensive. So why is it important? Why is that important? Until I started working in this building, I wasn't really sure. But I can tell you the number of people, the 20-some-odd thousand trips it's made, the number of people that depend on that to go back and forth to kidney dialysis is staggering. Is staggering. And let me tell you, those transit drivers, they're just not transit drivers. I mean, they're caretakers. They have a passion that'll help those people get on that, and they'll help them get back, and there's no telling what else they help them with. The doctor appointments, just going and getting the necessities for groceries. Our population is dependent upon that. Now let's go to the natural and cultural resource component. Our partnership with Limestone Valley, and I don't think I saw Steve here, he may pop in one of these, with RC&D to develop and manage plans for our impaired streams. Guys, our streams, that's a great resource that we've got, but we've got to keep it clean and we've got to do a better job. We work with Limestone Valley RC&D to apply for the 319 grant funds to improve water quality. Those funds are typically used to repair failing septic systems on a cost-sharing basis. A lot of times it gets to the point where people just can't afford to do it, and they'll go in and do like a 60-40 split and make it possible for those systems to be repaired. Now, next we look at the community facility and surface component. We continue to follow the future development guide and the map and the comprehensive plan to determine appropriate limits for expansion of sewer infrastructure. The county and the economic development purchased and developed a public land for industrial development on Highway 41 down at exit 345. We have several active prospects that's looking. We've had prospects ever since since the land was cleared and started to be cleaned up. We have one company that's looking to build on an adjacent side or close by side, but the reason they came to look was because of that publicly owned land. Because I've been doing this for a long time. I can remember when we first got Rollins Industrial Park completed. I can remember the Georgia Power helicopter was flying prospects in to look at a 60-acre tract of land in the industrial park, and we're all standing out there. It was hot as blazes, and we're in our suits thinking, why are we in our suits out here? And lo and behold, the property value went up $20,000 by the owner of the property, just like that, and the helicopter never landed. That's why you have publicly owned land, because the land cost can be controlled. So we've got one prospect that is fixing to build. We've already sold some of the land to an adjacent property owner for a commercial development, and we continue to have people come into our community looking at that particular process. And we're hoping for jobs, we're hoping for good paying jobs for that particular property. The transfer station was placed out to bid this year. Of course, a lot of people call it the dump, but it's actually a transfer station. And due to the county board of commissioners putting that out to an RFP, we were able to lower the cost of you going to that transfer station by 20%. By 20%. And they'll be able to go up just by the cost of the consumer index tied to the urban index over the next 4 years. So kudos to the board of commissioners for saying enough's enough, we're going to put this out to bid, and they did. The same company's going to operate it, and we're proud of that partnership, but the rates we're getting out of hand. In regards to recycling, the transfer station, and this is part of our plan, right, provides free recycling for cardboard, paper, plastics, metals, oil, and batteries. I think this is the first year that the county has done this, but we went after a grant, and it's called the Tire Amnesty Day. It'll be April the 26th, and it's through the Scrap Tire Abatement Reimbursement Grant, and we're looking forward to a lot of people. And our hopes there is people will take advantage of that day, and I know John Pless is going to be promoting it, and I hope most cities will as well, so that we can get people to, because it's about unaffordable if you've got 4, 5, 6, 10 tires. And of course, we're trying to get those where they'll get recycled in the proper way, rather than us having to go pick them up off of the shoulder of the road, or, Miss Tina, where are you at, Miss Tina? Or out of the creeks, like we do on Clean Catoosa Day, right? We will host that on, again, April the 26th. Enhancements to L.C. Homes. If you haven't ever been to L.C. Homes Nature Park, you are missing a jewel. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. There's been a playground added. There's been a new kiosk mapping kiosk of it. This up there is very, very well done. In the past few years, major improvements to the senior center. And you talk about getting close to some of the commissioner's heart and getting close to my heart. Serving meals and then sending those meals home to people that are homebound. My goodness, we're the largest active center in our region now. That was not the case 4 years ago. And let me tell you, when our people carry those home, those homebound people a meal, that might be the only person that individual sees for weeks, for months. And they do more than just take them a meal, I assure you. I assure you, they become sort of their caretaker, and then they try to communicate to us other ways. And then we have faith-based organizations that can also jump in there and help. In the past few years, major investments or improvements have been made, like I said, and we continue to see that grow. We're having to add additional parking because the parking just got insufficient. Commissioner, we'll probably have to look at that in the next 5 years, because we have an aging population, and you're going to see a lot of that, I'm sure, today. Just recently, the Board of Commissioners contracted with Trainfo to provide a message boards, alerts, and notification for the Graysville Railroad crossing. Some of you may not know, but over in Graysville, there's this crossing that you got to go across. You're going to go into Tennessee, and sometimes they will park a train on the tracks, and you will think you will grow old, right? What we're hoping to do with this is make it to where if you use Waze or if you use one of the other mapping systems, so that you'll be able to see what's going on up there. We're also trying to integrate that with 911, so that if the sheriff needs to send a deputy, he'll know how he needs to go. If Chief Austin has to send a fire engine, then maybe we have to pull one out of Hamilton County, because it's going to take us a while to go around, right? So hoping this will help us in a lot of different ways and for the convenience of our citizens. renovation of the Poplar Springs complex, the recreational complex, and the installation of air conditioning in the gym. That's allowed us to open the gym and use it year-round, but it's also something else. Sheriff, you and I talked about cooling stations, right? You have times where it's just hot and people don't have a good way to go, or a good place to go. Well, that would be another option that we may have. And we're looking to add the second one to Graysville. We're hoping to do that in the very near future. Our sheriff, along with our board of commissioners, is currently working on designing a medium security building. We're not really helping design, but we're supporting that. The sheriff is the one working on the design for 96 additional beds at the jail. Hopefully, this will be a work release program, and I'm sure many of you have heard about that, and if not, please check with the sheriff. He's trying to make it to where recidivism rates go down, where we don't see the same person, time after time after time. Hats off to you, Sheriff, for that. A new 911 and emergency management facility has been constructed at the College and Career Academy, and through a partnership with the school board and with the Board of Commissioners, that work has been finalized. We're currently working to build a pathway. Like the sheriff has built a pathway for jailers, so now high school students, when they graduate and meet certain criteria, he's able to use those as jailers. Great idea. Well, we're hoping to do the same thing with 911 dispatchers. You know who the best dispatchers are? Gamers, right? Young gamers that can multitask like a game. It just don't work. And a lot of thought was put into this, and I know the commissioners was heavily involved in this too. So on the first floor, you got the 911 center, but on top of it, you've got sort of half of a 911 center. That's the same setup as what's downstairs. Well, that's where these students will be trained. But let's think back. If we have another tornado with the flip of a switch, now you can 50% more of your 911 staff. So I think that was some extremely good thinking and critical thinking there. And hopefully we will never, ever see a disaster like that again. And finally, as a Baptist preacher might say, our last component is intergovernmental coordination. The Joint Comprehensive Plan has been made available, I know by the county, and I would imagine by both cities on the county website, so that if you would like to see the Joint Comprehensive Plan, you can do that. Or you can go to the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission. They also host our plan there as well. And in 2024, the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax was passed with over 60% approval by our citizens for a 6-year term, and the estimated collection is $96 million. You know, folks, there is a lot of work to be done, and I'm proud that you showed up tonight to be part of that and to help with that. So share your ideas, and if we can help you, please let us know. And now let's get started working on the next 5 years. Thank you. And I'm not sure if I did this.
Yes, if you'd like to go back to Mayor and
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Miller, Mayor for the City of Ringgold. So we're fancy here. We just printed out our comp plan and circled the things we had done, and so I'm just going to go through the list. And I'm not going to be quite as eloquent, but also not as long-winded as Dan. I always appreciate you, Dan. Okay, so one of our goals was to renovate our downtown to build small retail spaces for Entrepreneurial Accelerator. We're very happy that our DDA has put in a lot of great work, and we're actually building out spaces now in our old Benton Coal building. Very unique, interesting businesses are coming in there. We're very excited about them. And our DDA is being picky about who goes in there, and they're doing a good job with that. We appreciate that. We've become a GET community. This is something we're doing along with Catoosa County and Fort Oglethorpe. This is in part of developing a countywide study. I'm not going to get too much into that. That's pretty new and I don't know a whole lot about it. But very exciting. We need it for the housing issues. Establishing a marketing effort. An effort between the city of Ringgold and our historical society. They do a lot of markers for us for the Civil War. They do Native American stuff. It's they come into our schools and educate our students. A great organization, and we appreciate all the work that we do with them. Let me see. Establish Art Walk. While we haven't necessarily done that, we have started opening our downtown to murals. We think that obviously the Dolly mural has been a big hit since the very beginning. It's really helped facilitate our Dolly Days, which is also a huge event. It was instantly popular. We're really proud of that partnership and to have people come in. And it's nice as a city not to have to do all these things and people be willing to come in and make events in your city for you. Repair aging water and sewer lines. While it's not very popular, it's very necessary, and we won't get any pats on the back or, way goes for that necessarily because we're digging up people's yard to replace things. But we did get a $2.5 million grant from GFA. So beginning in June, we're going to be doing massive water line replacements, and it's necessary. It's not the best thing, but our citizens will appreciate it, even if they don't know and don't tell you. Improve the Golden Mile Trail. This extends from our creek walk all the way into our downtown, and we've made big progress there. We've concreted basically everything we can concrete. We are going to have a great new addition to our nature trail soon that we're going to be announcing. Hopefully we can get it opened up soon. It might be a little while of concrete, but it's going to be potentially a great addition that goes, I can just go ahead and say where it goes. I don't think there's any issue with that. We're going to try to go, right now along Robin Road, there's a trail that goes along the creek, and that's the road that goes from 5 Points to Walgreens, right there. So we're going to be able to go under that bridge and around the back of Ingalls, all along the creek, along that whole area, and it's a beautiful place in Ringgold, and it's going to be a wonderful extension. We're excited about all of those things. Update Little General's Park. In 2022, we completely renovated that equipment. And I'm at the end of my list. Thank you all very much. I'm looking forward to a very productive evening with everyone.
I'm going to find my way up here. Can't fit through these stairs. Good evening, everyone. I'm Molly Kim, City Manager of the City of Fort Oglethorpe. Unlike Dan, and I have not done this before, so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that all of you are involved. I'm excited to be involved. I came in, I started in my position at the very tail end of this process, so all I got to see was the very end of the meetings when everyone was sick of it. So I'm excited to see everybody at the beginning when it's exciting and fun. So I too am going to go through just kind of the list of what was the work plan and what we've done. So the first thing on that list is economic development. We received our rural zone designation for our historic district beginning in January 2025 this year. So that will create some tax incentives and everything for everybody who locates in our historic district. We are working and engaging with our DDA a lot more and on various projects to encourage downtown development. We have big plans to incorporate free Wi-Fi, like Dan said. That's very important at some of our public spaces like Gilbert Stevenson Park. We have implemented the RSVP, the Renaissance Strategic Revitalization Plan. We're very excited about that, and you'll probably hear me reference that a few times because it sort of bleeds over into lots of different categories. But we started those efforts pretty much the minute that we became an RSVP community. So like in 2021, we started that process. We have a lot of community engagement efforts that are ongoing. We have started a lot of events. Fort Oglethorpe was pretty dormant for a long time and didn't have a lot of events. It was like your practical area of Catoosa County. It's where you shopped, but it isn't necessarily where you did a lot of fun things. And so now, thanks to our Economic Development Director, Taylor Cutwagner, who's quietly trying to act like I didn't acknowledge her in the back there, We've started our third year of our Easter egg scramble, which is my favorite event of the year. It lasts for about 3 minutes, and we give away a bajillion eggs, and kids run all over the park, and they have a great time. That will go into its third year this year. Our farmers market starts its fourth season in May. We have our countywide National Night Out event, which is a police engagement and law enforcement engagement event, and we really appreciate the sheriff's department and the Ringgold Police Department, Fire Department, everybody from around comes and helps out, and it's a really fun night. It gets done with the chief. It's a good time. So we hope that everybody will do that. That's going into its fourth year this year. Labor Day at the Post, we brought it back. The city has never actually done it before, so that was terrifying. Our mayor, because he's not here, I'll tell you this story. He came into my office in June of 2023. He's like, I think we need to get that Labor Day at the Post back going. And I was like, next year? Sure, 2024, and he's like, no, you got 9 days, there's plenty of time. And I was like, oh, and then I had an aneurysm and freaked out, and then we did it. We managed to do it, but it was great. And last year we did it for our second year, and this year we're going to keep going, and so it'll just get bigger and better, we hope, as the year's gone, and we really appreciate all the support that all of you have provided for that event. We also, Fort O Fright, our really spooky, how would you describe it, Taylor? What do you think?
If creepy is your saying, then that's your place.
So creepy's not my thing. I hated the haunted house and every minute of it, but everybody else really seemed to dig it. It was not my thing. But Fort O Fright was we had blacklight skating, and we built a big haunted house at the stable. It was pretty cool. A haunted stable. You're not allowed to call it a haunted house because the fire department said we couldn't. But it's a haunted stable. There are no walls, so we're good. We also are going to have our third annual winter skating season. So we have our winter skating over at Stable 41, and that's been a big fun thing too. We've also updated Gilbert Stevenson Park. Our beautiful park, it's really the crown jewel of Fort Oglethorpe. So many families go there. We added 12 pickleball courts last year, and we updated our volleyball court. We updated our tennis courts. We have our all-inclusive playground. We have 11 new pavilions, all redone. They're beautiful. New lighting, additional parking, that was a big thing. Our pool is very popular, and so parking is an issue. So we've added some parking there, which is great. We also have our Stable 41 in the historic district, and that's where we host our farmers market. We also expanded the parking there too. And we purchased 2 city blocks of old kind of blighted warehouses, and we're just sort of waiting for the right person to come along and help us develop those. And that kind of goes hand in hand with engaging our GDA as well. When it comes to housing, Dan's mentioned it a couple of times. We have our GIG designation that we received in 2023. We're going into our sophomore year, and then we're also working on that joint housing study through the GIG program. Our Cloud Springs widening project. So, Dan, you mentioned a project that had been going on in 1993. I think this project has been going on that long too. But so for at least 20 years, I know that the community has been hoping that Cloud Springs will go from 2 lanes to 4 in certain areas of Cloud Springs Road. We'll see how that goes, but the GDOT has actually picked up the pace a little bit, and so we're working in conjunction with them, and they're trying to figure out how that works and how that looks. But if that corridor opened up, it would be really great for that area, I think. And we also we received an art grant for the rehabilitation of some water lines, our old historic water lines on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Street around Stable 41. Those water lines were put in by German prisoners of war. That's how old they are. So they're like 80 or 90 years old. Those water lines desperately need to be replaced to better serve those communities and those businesses over there. And we received $1 million art grant to do just that. And with that, we're going to work on doing sidewalks and everything and making that a more walkable, more friendly community for everybody to sort of know that it's back there and come and see our historic district. We've implemented historic markers on Barnhart Circle. That was done actually courtesy of Chris McKeever and the Fort Board, the Fort Oglethorpe Tourism Association, previous Tourism Association. They made these beautiful markers that have now been installed by the city staff around Barnhart Circle. They're really beautiful. And Taylor and her staff have created an audio walking tour that you can listen to and download on Audible and walk around and learn all about Barnhart Circle. It's pretty cool. Our art walk signs have been put into place, and we do have plans to change those out as time goes on. That goes along our trail through Gilbert Stevenson Park and up towards City Hall. I disagree with you, Mayor Millwood. I love water and wastewater. It's so much fun because you can't have development without it. So let's talk about water and wastewater. We had on our list to convert all of our meters to radio read meters, and I'm happy to report that only 13 meters in the city of Fort Oglethorpe are now not radio read meters, so that's super cool. Several of those remaining manual read meters will be replaced when we do the Battlefield Parkway Water Lines project, which is coming up soon. That corridor from Cedar to Lafayette Road on Battlefield Parkway desperately needs those water lines replaced, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be an inconvenience, but it is going to be necessary, and I think everybody will be very happy when it does it, when we actually are able to do that. So that will probably get started this year at some point, I hope it, but if that's not true, I didn't say that, so John Class. No. But, and we're working to loop our water system to prevent some dead ends, you know, so that those are occurring as those developments kind of come online and take place. And we hope to, in the next year or two, upgrade the water lines in the Pinewood Circle subdivision as well. We have an ongoing effort to rehabilitate existing sewer lines and manholes to decrease inflow and infiltration, which is a huge problem countywide, and we've seen a lot of success in doing that. We actually, where's Philip Schofield? Where is he? There you are. CTI actually called us when we had undergone this kind of effort for about 40% of our system with inflow and infiltration rehabilitation. They said, did you guys lose a major source of industry or something? Because you've lost like 1.5 million gallons of water every month. We're like, oh my God, really? That's awesome, because it was all because of rehab and rehabilitation. So I'm very happy that we're putting emphasis on that, because rehab and rehabilitation, you might never receive your return on investment, but it's necessary to keep your system healthy. So Mark is nodding and looks sad, so I know I got it right. And like I said, we got that ART grant, which will help rehabilitate those water lines in the historic district as well. We've also spent a lot of the last several years working on being more friendly and accessible for social media, and you know, just trying to engage more with the community. We did that through a very simple way, our calendars. We send out yearly calendars. It's like probably the most popular thing that we do. We started in 2022. The city staff, out of necessity in 2022, started delivering the calendars by hand, and now it's kind of a fun thing. We just all go out and fan out the last couple of weeks of December and blanket the city and give everybody a calendar. It's actually, a lady sent me a letter upset a couple of years ago because the water and sewer rates had to decrease, but the note on the bottom said, P.S. thank you for the calendar, it's lovely. And I have it in my room, I have it in my office, and it's like tacked up there to remind me that those little things are important for people. They really are. And so it kind of just, it doesn't just cover things that our community offers, it covers things that the entire county offers, and even services in Tennessee as well. It has a list of frequently called numbers, it highlights community events, it provides them with countywide information, and it's been really helpful to people. People love the calendar, so we're very happy to do that. We've also updated our city's website in the last, how long has it been, a couple of years now? I think so. Our city's website needed it, like bad. So we're looking a little more modern, which is good, and Taylor and her department have really helped to level up our social media presence and our website presence, which is wonderful. We also created Let's Go Fordo, which is a website that is solely devoted to things that are fun going on in our community. FordoGov.com is just for the boring old government stuff that we do, but the Let's Go Fordo actually highlights the fun community events. So if you have something fun going on in your community, it doesn't just have to be a city event, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you push the information out there through that website. We've created a monthly newsletter that has a very high click rate, but I don't know what that means. That it goes out to all these subscribers, and it details all the events in Fordo and everything that's happening. It's been very popular. And we've also opened our Fort Oglethorpe Welcome Center on Barnhart Circle. We opened that in September of 2023. For land use, like I said, we have our RSVP plan that we're working through to try to be a little more meaningful about where we put businesses and not just packing things in because it's commercial, just trying to be thoughtful about things that go into our community. We did adopt a new Unified Development Code in 2021, which tied zoning a little bit more meaningfully to use, which was desperately needed in our community. We have a lot of corridors where people have been operating a commercial business or living in a home, in a residential home for a long time, but for some reason it's zoned industrial. And so we are systematically trying to fix that. Because we want you to be living in the right place that it's zoned for. And we want those zones to make sense. So we're working to kind of tie use to zoning a little bit more. And then as far as intergovernmental coordination, we have had some of those joint meetings. I think those might start back up again, but they did occur a few times. And then we're working together with the county and Ringgold on the GIG program. We're just going to keep doing that for at least a year or two more, I believe. But so that's everything that we've done. I'm sure it's not, but that's what I remember. So thank you all, and I look forward to this process.
Thank you all, community leaders, for telling us what's going on and what has been accomplished. I couldn't help think, as you went over several of those different things, for example, GIG, you can't apply for that if you don't have a comprehensive plan. And definitely, Mayor Millwood mentioned getting GFA funds for water sewer related. You have to have comprehensive plan completed for that as well and updated. So it all fits together in what you need to do. Those folks that pass out that money like to see that you have a plan, that you kind of know what the need is, and you've evaluated it, you've spent some time thinking about it. So that's great to hear the way those things link together. I'm going to I have a PowerPoint. I'm going to go through it real quickly so that we have plenty of time to do the next exercise. And a lot of you received that this morning. I sent it to you, and you have paper copies of it so you can look this over a little bit. But what I'm just going to quickly run through it. And like if you have questions about anything here, we'll talk about it later. But basically, I was highlighting some of the wonderful things. Your Lady of the Chickamaugas, there's several creeks that Chickamauga in there, but particularly the West Chick and South Chick. Make sure you have 50 miles of paddling in Catoosa that goes to the Tennessee River. You're the gateway to North Georgia with 5 exits on I-75, which is an economic opportunity, as you know, even though sometimes you think, wow, that's a lot of interstate, but it's a huge economic driver for you. And of course, you are the commuter community for Chattanooga, but you also have in other sections of the county 213 farms and 97% of family-owned farms. You have several areas that are business parks, and you also have the technical college, and a good unemployment rate, and a good median household income rate. And then, of course, all the history, the Cherokee Indian history, and all the Civil War history, so many sites related to that. And of course, the premier one being the Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park, which is the first one of its kind in the nation. It was. And that's all. I have some data here about your population trends, and you can look more closely at that. And of course, this slide shows Georgia population is going up, has been going up, and then those last 4 orange dots are projections that the state of Georgia, the Georgia Governor's Office of Planning and Budget does some projections, and they project growth. And then down there at the bottom are the Catoosa County and the 2 adjacent counties, Whitfield and Walker, and their rates of growth are not as great as rapid, but still there will be some growth. And then of course, Hamilton County is growing like crazy as well, and you can see where that is headed. I did give you these population pyramids, which you divide out the males and the females on either side, and then the 5-year age classes. And you can see these are interesting in that, we had some talk about the aging population, but for your county, you actually have a really good mix of age classes. You can see through young folks all the way up and maybe declining a little bit by the time you get to 75 and above. But that's a really good thing for your community in terms of having folks in all those different groups. And that is true for each one of these. Let me go back. Here in Fort Oglethorpe, you see it's very interesting, all those 85 and above women in that top column. Who are those people? Maybe you can explain why they're there. And I did have some information on commuting, and you can look more closely at that, but you have about 5,000 folks that live and work in Catoosa County, but you can see more than 23,000 people leave. Where do they go? Of course, you have some folks that do come into work too. 9,000 is quite a few. And of course, a lot of them, more than 11,000, go to Hamilton County. Then you do have some folks that come in to Catoosa County. Since I did this the last time for you all, the data was 2017 data, that was the most recent when I did this last time. There are 887 more jobs in Catoosa, which is a good thing. It's not a huge new number, but it's still good. I have some housing data here about, and housing is very important right now, with housing costs and dearth of housing going on. So I have some information there that you can look more closely at, but you have your housing units, and this is from the 2020 census, lots and lots, 94% occupied housing units, and then the vacant is only 6%. Vacant would be not dilapidated housing, just empty housing, but it also includes short-term rentals and vacation homes. So it's kind of understandable that you don't have short-term rentals in this county. But that in some ways is a good thing too, because that means you have possibly more rental type for workforce housing available, long-term rentals for your workforce housing. So it's sort of a good thing. And your owner-occupied, 75% owner-occupied housing, and 77% is single-family one-unit structures. If you go down there, you'll see median home value is quite a number there, 225,000, which is breathtaking to me because I remember let's see, 29 years ago when my husband and I bought our first house in Whitfield County. that number is breathtaking compared to what we spent. And you can see, if you look, your largest number of houses are in the 100,000 to 299,000. We have like 63% in that category. So that's all information. Some of this information, our person who works with census, Tyler, got a lot of this together for your gig, one of your first gig meetings that you did as a group. So some of you have seen some of this before. These are just some of the characteristics related to housing and so on. I'm going to move on to the next slide really quickly. This is some housing statistics related to monthly housing costs, and you have heard about cost-burdened groups. If you are spending more than 30% of your income, your household income on housing, your cost burden, this table shows that those in the lowest income, less than 20,000, are basically the most cost burden there. If you read it, I've highlighted those in the orange. If you add up all that column, about 23% of your units are occupied by people who are in a cost burden situation. If you add up those percentages there where it's red, those are the 30% folks. But you can study that more closely. I have a little bit of information here about your different industry sectors, private industry sectors. Retail trade has the most number of employees, but your transportation and warehousing, the most establishments down there, which is perhaps understandable with the location here at 75. And here's your top 10 employers, and you have this in your folders. This is the labor profile. It's all in there. Those are in alphabetical order, not in order of who has the most. Those are your top 10, so you probably recognize some of them. And then, of course, here's your public employees, and you can see local leads the list there with the number of employees. That's many of those folks are teachers working hard to educate your young people. So, quickly to wrap up, we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to try to accomplish some things with a plan. So what I would like you all to do, you are already at your tables, and you may want to move around a little bit. I have these packets here that I've given you, and you have pens. Your job is to choose a scribe, one person to write. And there's 2 Fort Oglethorpe tables because we figured there were just so many people. There's really 3 Catoosa tables, and there's 2 Ringgold tables. And so this is called a SWOT analysis. So we have, and that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So this piece of paper down here is a space for you for economic development, things having to do with economy. And at this point, there are no wrong answers to this. But what are some strengths? Put it down here and try to be specific, okay? And over at that table, you all are going to write things down, but we're going to combine it all. So don't worry. Don't worry. We'll put it all together. And then weaknesses and opportunities and threats. So on. Try to go through that. And we really would like you this time, and I have it in the agenda, we're trying to make sure you fill out the economic development sheet and what's the next one? Natural and cultural resources. They're not in order that you're going to fill them out. Do natural, cultural, and then also do community facilities. And I've split them up that way because the economic and the community facilities and services sometimes has a lot of things on it, and then some of the ones that we'll do next time have a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that you can put down for our your counts for that too. So try to complete those 3 this time. And I think that in the procedures that we did where Dan and the mayor and Molly were all about different categories, I think you have an idea what we mean by economic development. Cultural, natural, that's historic too. But it can be anything related to the outdoors. If it is a park, though, it can also go on community facilities and services too. So pick somebody to write, and then get some ideas together.